VGK and the Penguins lock horns for the second time in 4 days, this time in Pittsburgh, against the fading Penguins for the Golden Knights. And not if VGK comes out the way they did against Los Angeles on Sunday. Will not be easy. More ahead right here on Lockdown Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, longtime sportscaster, college hoops fan, and marketing consultant, along with Chris Golick, collectibles editor for the Hockey News and owner of the Silver State Cards and Sports and that business. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. And please make sure to subscribe to our Lockdown Golden Knights YouTube channel. Coming up ahead on today's program, I sound like I'm like a NPR announcer or something on today's program.
Sound like Zick Fracassi.
Zick Fracassi. That's my guy, man. Okay.
Road
trip point projections we'll have, and I call him Zeke, and locks of the night and predictions. Last Friday night, as Katy Perry would probably be singing around now, last Friday night, I'm not going to sing for you, at T-Mobile Arena, it's a song. It's a song. Katy Perry's song, Last Friday Night. Google it, bro. Okay. VGK toyed basically with a shorthanded Pittsburgh Penguins team, which lost some players to deals at the trade deadline. 4-0 was the final score for VGK. Do we see Ilya Samsonov again? Will this be another walk in the park against last place Pittsburgh?
The Penguins were simply all mixed up, and it was a down performance as far as the trade deadline and everything, and just the way things looked in that game. And the Golden Knights had plenty of juice, of course. You got the Riley Smith situation, so it made sense for that game to turn out the way it did on Friday night. Shifting gears now, the Penguins just beat the Minnesota Wild on the road to end their road trip. Kind of odd how that turns out, but it did. And now the Penguins come home, and you got the clash of the first game back from the road trip for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And on the Golden Knights side, you've got the trouble of traveling west to east with just one travel day. A lot of times there's an extra day built in where you travel, you get a day to practice, and then you play a game. Not in this case. It was play a game on Sunday, earlier on Sunday, 5 o'clock game. I don't think the team would have taken a red eye or anything like that. They probably flew out Monday morning, and here we are Tuesday for a pregame skate. And I guess the biggest question is William Karlsson right now.
So do you think they said that he'll probably play, McCrimmon did, he'll probably be playing on this road trip. Typically when they do this, it's not typically like the first game of a road swing. What are your thoughts on that?
It's tough because Karlsson's situation is delicate to say the least, right? It's groin, hammy combination thereof, and those can be almost worse than bone breaks at times because they just heal basically whatever they decide to. I'm no doctor. John Strickland can weigh in on this, of course, but just history when it comes to watching injuries like this, they're very delicate. And in Karlsson's situation, it's been like this now, not since October, but since last April when the playoffs were going. So it's been a long time lingering injury. So Pittsburgh, Columbus, Buffalo, it's every other day. And then Saturday, Sunday, it's a back-to-back Buffalo.
It's only an hour and a half flight. And they play day to day.
Fine, but I'm simply saying for
afternoon hockey
case,
okay,
do they hold him until the last game of this and not want to play him back-to-back? Or does he get out there tonight and get going? I think if he doesn't play tonight, he might not play until Sunday and the last of the back-to-back. That's just a guess.
Interesting. And then who is odd man out if this is the situation? That's a good question here because, and where does he play? He'll be the third line center. You have to suspect Riley Smith will be on that line. Who else? Who else might be on that line?
This is tough because the Howden line has been playing great. They're going to dismantle it, I guess.
Oof, they
I
can't.
mean, that's the only option. Unless they're gonna do something really odd and throw William Carlson up on
On a
the top
wing.
line with Tanner Pearson
On the wing.
on the way. Exactly, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Um,
Not
so
out of the question. Not out of the question of that
no, I
happening.
mean Riley Smith has been on the left side, and this might be where Barbashev goes back to that top line. So now you got Eichel, Stone, and Barbashev. The second line might remain Saad, Hurdle, and Dorofia. I mean, anyone you put with a Hurdle right now is just playing well because Hurdle's playing so well. So all of a sudden, that third line might end up becoming Olofsson, Carlson, and Riley Smith, which is interesting. And then as far as the odd man out, we're looking at Tanner Pearson.
Yeah, could be Tanner Pearson.
We're
Very
looking at
well.
Tanner
Could be.
Pearson. I mean, that's the only option. They're not scratching Colasar. They're not
They're not
scratching
going to scratch Cole
Nicholas Waugh.
Schwint. They won't. They won't. Definitely will not scratch Cole Schwint.
Well, considering he wasn't even in the lineup over the weekend, but yeah.
I thought that it was a solid effort for the Penguins on Sunday, as you discussed, in Minnesota. Nice bounce back. They beat the Wild 3-1. I watched parts of that game, and Sidney Crosby was on fire, had a couple of goals, as was Tristan Jarry. 30 saves in that game, and Jarry with a goalie assist on Crosby's second goal. That was an empty netter. Who do we see tonight? Will we see Jarry? Because he played extraordinarily well in Minnesota to get that win.
Nedeljkovic, 33 games, Jarry, 23 games, and then Bloomquist, 15 games. So I don't know. I mean, the Pittsburgh goalie situation is fluid to say the least, and I can't imagine that there's like any rotation besides maybe rolling with the hot hand and stuff like that. It could be the same perspective as Vegas, right? You know, Vegas traveled, Pittsburgh traveled. So you play the goalie who is resting, and that means the Golden Knights get Nedeljkovic again, which is fine. And then I think we both can agree. I think we'll see Samsonov in the VGK net today.
Yeah, I think that could be the case. 9, I looked in the box score. Here's a peculiar stat for you there, Golick. Pittsburgh had, what, 9 players? 9 Pittsburgh players were all -2 against the Golden Knights. I think that is a very odd stat. You don't?
No, that's definitely kind of odd. No doubt about that. It's certainly something that's, I mean,
To have
I
the
don't know.
same players out there, like for most of the goals, that's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're definitely going to get it when, you got something like that going on. It's not going to shake out very well.
Okay, talk about VGK now going back to the East Coast here, where they did win a couple of games before that Four Nations break. And VGK typically does play much better following a loss because we know that Cassidy was working on what? All the minor details at practice here a couple of days ago or yesterday. I don't know. Yeah.
After the Golden, I get it. After certain games, you're going to key in on certain things that the team didn't do well. And while burning the tape seems like it's kind of a thing of the past these days, a game like against the LA Kings, I don't know how many teachable moments they are. The team played like crap, call it what it is. On the offensive side, fine, things were really well. But as far as attention to detail, managing the puck, and just the little things that you have to do on a nightly basis to beat most teams. I say beat most teams because the Golden Knights didn't do a good job of it Friday against Pittsburgh either. It's one of those games where maybe it was different watching it live versus watching it on TV. It was definitely being watched through rose-colored glasses with the return of Riley Smith, of course. So, but when you break down the game itself, just VGK's their passing wasn't very good. Puck management wasn't as good. But again, the Pittsburgh Penguins just played terrible hockey. They're not a great hockey team, so it wasn't necessarily needed. And then now you play a good team in the LA Kings, and you don't manage the puck well. You don't do the little things, and you pay for it defensively. Aiden Hill didn't have a good game either. It wasn't a bad game, but you let in 6 goals. It's hard to say a lot of positive about the goalie.
Yeah, so this will be an interesting game for the VGK. You said rose-colored glasses. You were watching it through. I was watching it through Spanish nighttime minus
Better than Nighttime Plus.
That is kind of much better. But this is a game again for VGK to get better and to clean up a lot of those unforced errors. Like that was probably, and Cassidy said it himself, probably perhaps the worst game that VGK played as far as mismanaging the puck, because they mismanaged it consistently, broken twig and all on Sunday.
Sunday was nearly a beautiful disaster as far as the way the game shook out. I mean, it was ugly early on. It was ugly the entire time. And I remember I was watching the game a little bit while I was working, and then I went and watched my neighbor's hockey game, and I had the game on my phone. I was kind of glancing down. I'm like 7-4, or I forgot what the score was, but every time the Golden Knights were just down and out of it, and then all of a sudden they get back into it. And then you watch the flurry at the end. I mean, and that's the thing. I know a lot of people are concerned about the LA Kings in the playoffs, and you should be. The Kings are a good team. They're playing really well. They've had the Golden Knights number. But the games going back to, you look at the home game where the road game where the Golden Knights played in LA and led for 2 periods, looked like the better team. Second period of that game, the Golden Knights won their best periods of the year, I think. And then the third period, all of a sudden, it all went to hell in a handbasket. And then you look at the game recently, the Golden Knights were terrible on the defensive side, but the game was within reach. And so Kings are a concern, but if the Golden Knights check their boxes and play a responsible game, I don't think there's a lot to be worried about.
Right, and they almost did steal that victory, as you mentioned.
Even a point's almost stole, but
yeah, almost, nearly, and that would have been big as far as momentum going out on the road for the Vegas Golden Knights. Coming up next, we do have our road trip points projections. Stay tuned, more on the way right here on Locked On Golden Knights. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to get into the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's right, 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who is cutting down the nets. And you know what? I've got my eyes on a few underdogs this year. And as we go on here and we get the brackets, I think we could have fun and tell you who we like there. But I do watch a ton of college hoops. And FanDuel does make it easy to back all of your favorites or underdogs or what have you, spreads, totals, and game props. And with tournament games happening almost every day, this is prime time for the college hoops fans. And there's always something to be excited about to bet on. And the FanDuel app, it is so easy and fast. It is simple to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops March Madness action. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Make sure that you get a Superman punch in at some juncture during the course of today.
Good Lord, that's got to be a suspension.
You think that's a suspension, right? Because I saw your tweet, so explain.
Yeah, so some dude Superman punched some
Benoit?
dude.
Wasn't it Benoit? Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I say the photos are just remarkable. A fight broke out in a game, a standard fight, like not like a melee or anything like that. 2 men fighting each other, and the first punch was literally the Superman punch. Dude got 8 to 12 inches off the ice and tried to go for this overhead punch on someone wearing a helmet. Odd, because you're going to hit him in the temple when you do it, that punch. Like, whatever.
He hurt his hand. Was it Benoit? Is that his name?
I don't know. Who cares?
Okay.
But
who cares?
Point being is that you can, if you leave your feet in an attempt to check somebody, it's likely a suspension, a fine, likely a suspension, depending on how it shakes out. So now we're jumping in fights and stuff like that. I don't know. I think that's something that the NHL needs to nip in the bud really quickly. Otherwise, someone might get hurt.
We're going to see more of it. We'll see more.
I mean, that said, I mean, when you're wearing a helmet, 99% of the players that would number went up since Reeves is in the AHL, by the way, with the Toronto Marlies right now. 99% of the players
how to get that in there. Okay, yeah, they do.
So I mean, I'm not a fighting expert. I haven't been in a fight since high school.
First,
No, after high school, I was
well,
in
no,
I was actually
on Twitter a couple of weeks ago.
No, I got in a fight in a roller hockey game right before I moved out here. And I
Wait.
damaged my fight.
Hang on. Roller hockey.
Inline hockey, rollerblades.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Yeah,
meant like
not quads or anything like that.
okay.
Just roller
I was
hockey is
thinking
easier way to
roller
say it. But
derby. You look like you would be a good roller derby player, I think.
one of the best videos in the history of sports entertainment is a roller derby clip where I don't know how it works, but like one guy flips a dude and hits a dude, and it was like 45 seconds of mayhem, and it was awesome.
Dude, we
But
used to watch that, growing up back east. I know that we're getting out of
no, but
Detroit here.
that's the
We used to watch that.
WWE of
It was great.
skating. You know what I mean? It's great.
That was part of my youth, bro. Like, yeah, it was fun. I used to watch it all the time. Go ahead.
Back to the punch. I mean,
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much damage you're going to cause with an overhead punch on another person wearing a helmet, but it just seems like the type of thing. These are not UFC trained athletes. Most of them are not even trained in fighting besides what they learned on the ice. So it seems like something the NHL might want to quietly stop, but whatever.
Okay, bring back roller derby. A 4-game road trip for VGK. How will they handle it? Again, our points prediction. And so they travel, as you mentioned. So they're at the Pens tonight, at the Sabres, who just beat Edmonton last night. That Oilers team is on an oil slick. And then back-to-back games, Saturday in Buffalo, Sunday in Detroit. First of all, the goalie rotation for this roadie, because we're guessing it's probably going to be Sammy Hill. Do you think that's the way it'll shake out?
I think that's how it's going to shake out. I mean, the other thing that they can do if they want to get Hill more reps, you can go Sammy Hill Sammy. You can do it like that. Golden Knights have 3 calendar days off after they play Detroit and come home against Boston. So which goalie starts on Sunday is not indicative of who's going to be starting when the Golden Knights come back to town. So again, face value, if it's me, I'm going Sammy Hill Sammy. That's just me.
Okay.
Flip side of that, maybe the Golden Knights don't want Hill to have it'd be 5 days off, though. It's not a full week.
Why don't they want him to play back-to-back? Not an actual back-to-back game, but starts in consecutive games. Why don't they want Hill
to be going 3 out of 4 games right now, as long as there's not back-to-backs that plan.
Right.
I want 3 out of 4 for Aiden Hill right now, all the way down the stretch.
I feel as though VGK will stumble in at least one of these games. Perhaps Columbus is the L. And as I mentioned, the back-to-back, just an hour and 15 minutes to Detroit for that tail end of the back-to-back. And for this team, for VGK, I just think here's what happens. I think there'll be an overtime loss to Pittsburgh. I think they'll beat the Sabres because they're always sky high against the Sabres. I think they'll lose to Columbus, beat the Red Wings, I think 5 points. So we don't just deal in just any even number or odd number, whatever. But we have to put a hook on there. So I'm going to put the total points, Golick. I'll put it at 4.5. I'll put 4 and a hook.
That's my number 2, and that's my number 2. And I think it's going to be 5 points one way or the other.
That's hilarious because that's what I said. I had 5.
We can agree on Buffalo definitely, and hopefully we can agree on Buffalo. I mean, I say hopefully in the sense that should be a layup, but there's no such thing as that in the NHL. And the Buffalo Sabres also get up when Jack Eichel comes to town. To be fair, they're going to boo and hiss at him the entire game and whatever. Detroit, it's a back-to-back. It's also a desperate playoff team. And this is odd. I mean, look at the schedule. I don't know if you looked at this or not. The back-to-back, so the game against Buffalo, matinee, 12:30.
Just they're daytime games.
All these are all local time. So it's a 12:30 day game. And then Detroit is also a day game, 1 o'clock. So that's
10 a.m.? 10
They're both day games. They're both day games.
9:30 and 10 a.m.
12:30 and what? Our local time, 12:30.
Local here. Okay.
Yeah. But still, early games. I mean,
yeah,
that's something that's a little strange for the Golden Knights. We'll see how they adapt. But again, 4.5 is the right number, and 5 is my number if I'm going to say how many points they get on this
Hilarious.
trip.
That's funny. Yeah, because I was going back through it a few times. Combined records of the teams on this roadie 111, 115, and 30. Thought I'd throw that out there for you to act like I'm smart. One of the 4 teams that they're playing is currently in a playoff spot. And VGK does still struggle against the East, although obviously, as we mentioned before, they did win those last 2 games at New Jersey and at Boston right before the Four Nations. They have not had to travel in 2 months, is it now? Something like that for VGK.
A
They play
lot
most of
of
their
home
games at
brew,
home.
right? A lot of home brew.
That was a weak schedule. Oh, I did want to point out, here's another note for you. This is not related to this road trip. Did
It's
you
related to the
see?
podcast.
It could be.
Okay.
If is roller derby related to the podcast? Okay, so Rod Brindamore, did you see this story? Rod Brindamore yesterday comes out and said that the only person that has never liked playing in Carolina is Mikko Rantanen. But Dave Pagnotta, here's the story. Pagnotta reporting yesterday, Brindamore said that the only 4 teams, name 4 teams that Mikko Rantanen said that he would play for.
He would play for. Okay,
would play
Dallas,
for.
VGK, Tampa,
No, Florida. Florida's
Florida.
one.
Okay, Florida was close.
And Toronto. Those 4. Remember, in Toronto tried to get a Marner trade for Mikko Rantanen.
Marner's going to be on the block this offseason.
But VGK was in the
he's
mix.
A free agent, I think. He's a free agent, I think.
Yeah, I think he'll be a free agent at the end of the season. What do you think
I
about
feeling
that?
that McCrimmon might have at least kicked tires on Ranson.
Not kicking tires again, but yeah. No, he probably did though, right? You know that he was in the mix. He had to have been in the mix, especially if Rantanen said that, and the agent had to reach out or vice versa.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying
Pretty interesting.
We're not saying the Golden Knights were close to landing Mikko Rantanen by or anything crazy like that, but you pick up the phone, and like McCrimmon said, and McCrimmon really spelled out his approach to the trade deadline really, really well on the Insider Show, talking about not just picking up the phone the week of the trade deadline or the day of the trade deadline. Hey, trade deadline. Hey, how's it going? Can I get Mikko Rantanen? You develop a relationship that really starts in the early spring, late winter with these other general managers, passive conversations. Hey, what do you think you might need? All this stuff. And you have a few drinks and, you bring out the fishing rod and you cast, and you plant some seeds and then you continue to have those conversations and such. So when the 11th hour of the trade deadline approaches, at least there's a foundation of a relationship, and then it goes from there. So saying that Kelly McCrimmon might have been showing interest, seeing what the situation was, not kicking tires, I don't want to say that.
No,
I drove a Cybertruck on Saturday, by the way. Anyway,
wait, hang on a second. No. Pause. You drove a Cybertruck.
I did.
What
the kids have
an
obsession with Tesla right now. They watch Mr. Beast on YouTube, Beast Games and all that. He does a lot of stuff with Teslas, so it's gotten in their head.
What handles the road better, a Zamboni or the Cybertruck?
They need a Cybertruck Zamboni. I was looking up those. They don't have any yet.
That would be cool.
But
you test drove one?
Yeah. So real quick, the story goes: went to a Tesla dealership. Kids going in and out of the cars, having fun. Salesperson talks to me, up to me as the terminology in the car business, and very passive conversation. Hey, if you want to drive one, let me know. And the kids, and I brushed them off. I said, "Nah, we're just here to hang out for a little bit." And of course, the kids the whole time giving me the pretty please face. Can we drive one? Can we drive one? So I found the salesman that said, "You guys, 0% chance of closing me today. I'm not filling out a credit app. If it's not going to take too much of your time on a Saturday, I would love to test drive a car." He's like, "What do you want to drive?" And the kids, of course, hear this conversation. Cybertruck. I'm like, "Guys, shut up." And the salesman's like, "Cybertruck? Okay."
So did he go on the ride with you guys?
No. He just gave me the keys and says, "Have fun 15, 20 minutes. Well, no, stop. There's no keys for Cybertruck. There's no keys for Tesla. I'm still learning how Teslas work. I don't have one. I'm not buying one.
How does that one work? Yeah.
But he just takes his cell phone, does something, and tells me it's how to. It drives weird. Like when you take your foot off the gas, it starts braking. It's really bizarre.
Yeah. No, it's just like a regular Tesla.
We were cruising We were cruising the west side for 20 minutes in a Cybertruck. The kids were blown away. It was awesome. So shout out to the Tesla dealership on West Sahara for just being
West
super
Sahara.
cool.
Yes. Well, anyone else you want to pitch there? No, nothing. Okay.
I mean, in a world of pillow fighting and the slap, whatever the slap thing is, power slapping, make roller derby great again.
Yeah, for sure. Coming up next, our locks of the night and our predictions and more Tesla Cybertruck stories, perhaps, as we return right here. I don't know. That's great. I like that story. I'll lock down Golden Knights. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page, and you can help to reach the right candidates faster. And of course, hiring the right people quickly is so important. Myself and Chris Golick, small business owners, and you do have to. Sometimes you're in a pinch, and you do need to hire someone and fast. And I've been in a spot where you need the right hire, like yesterday, and the pressure's on. Every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make your post seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process to our Canadian friends with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockdown right now and support our show, Locked On Golden Knights. You can support it by saying that you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. So please do so. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from, what is today? Tuesday. On this Tuesday edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Yep. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. And again, support us in any manner possible and send out some really nice posts on Twitter and what have you. And say some nice things for once on YouTube. So is little Chris going to be in the house? I mean,
I just gave him the page with the intercom system, me yelling across the house with probably everyone's.
That's the intercom system there. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, okay. What's the date today?
March 11th.
Okay. Otherwise known as
311 Day.
You didn't catch all the song references, homebrew, and
I did not.
When
did you throw them?
And Amber. I've been throwing them out all the whole show.
Amber? You didn't say
Amber. I don't know if I got Amber in there.
No, I didn't hear
Amber. I got all mixed up in there. I got down in there. I got homebrew in there. And...
You did. What was home? Wait. When did you do
the
homebrew reference?
Homebrew?
When was that reference?
In the last segment.
Okay. Man,
I've been fired.
I'm very slow. Are they? So I did go to 311. I did go to 311 shows here in Vegas when they played back-to-back days, Mandalay Bay for 311 Day.
Usually have a 311 Day here, or they do a cruise, I think, on 311.
But they've done shows here. They've done shows here for last year. Weren't they here last year?
I don't know. 311 was my first ever concert in 1996 at the Aragon Brawl Room. Eric Rabbers.
Okay, and that's it. Okay,
so
cool. Nice shout out today. So let's talk about our locks and predictions. Our show is getting out of hand here. This is usually the show that the boss man listens to. VGK, stay on
311 to us.
VGK easing past the Penguins on Friday 4-0. Again, I don't think that this will be as easy tonight. VGK I have as an overtime winner, and I'm going to go 4-3, and I'll go Olofsson and Barbashev. So that's what I'm going to do is I'll do that there.
4-3 overtime VGK, you said, right?
Yep. Barbashev and goalless son.
I'm going with Eichel and Stone, but I am going 4-2 Pittsburgh tonight. As far as the
taking Pittsburgh goes, you're taking Pittsburgh.
I'm taking Pittsburgh tonight. Absolutely.
It's a bad spot for VGK. Is that what you're saying? Trap game?
It's a bad spot, and it's a bad spot for
trap
game. Games, I think. But
are you going to say trap game?
No,
not
a trap game. Especially
I just like when you do that.
Losing on Sunday. I just think it's a tough spot. I think the travel is tough, and you start reading between the lines, right? The Pittsburgh game, the Golden Knights played okay, but it was Pittsburgh. I know they're playing Pittsburgh again tonight, but the same Penguins team just beat the Minnesota Wild recently. That's a tough win against a Wild team that needs every point right now, trying to climb that mountain in the Central, which is all of a sudden seems like whatever the highest mountain in the world is right now. So I just think it's a tough game. That's literally my outlook. It's a tough game for VGK. Samsonov, I'm not going to put faith in him having 2 solid games back to back. If I'm wrong, great. But I've been picking VGK a lot lately. I think besides the Hawks game, and you can't pick him every game. So I'm sure everyone on Twitter will call me out for not calling VGK. I say I never call VGK.
Can't win. If I pick VGK, I'm jinxing him. So it's all good. You should play Charlie O'Connell in the roller derby movie. You might want to Google him, dude. You have that kind of look. Charlie O'Connell, like my favorite roller derby player.
Big out of shape dude who doesn't work out enough.
There you go.
Great, thanks.
Okay, one other note here before we depart today. So Aaron Ekblad becomes the first NHL player since September of 2018 to receive a suspension.
Who was the player in September of 2018?
Hang on.
You got it. You know it.
Yes, for violation of the league's PED program, 20 games suspended for the Panthers. So that puts him into the playoffs, right? You'd have to believe.
It should be 1 or 2 games into the playoffs. I think everyone's right around 20 games right now.
Okay. Was he like eating bad meat like Canelo? What happened here? So who was that lad? That's our trivia question of the day.
Easy, Nate Smith.
That's an easy one.
Pretty.
But I know, but isn't that crazy that is the last PED suspension? Dude with the Superman punch is the next one. He'll get a PED.
That's
suspension.
funny. No, I mean, I remember, and I'm assuming, I don't know the Ekblad situation. I don't know if he's made a statement or not yet.
No, he did make a statement, and he said that he was recovering from some sort of an injury, did not check with the doctors and everything, and took some sort of medication that he shouldn't have. And again, he came out. I thought that he was transparent about it.
Yeah.
And okay.
I remember the quote from not Nate Schmidt, but from the situation surrounding Nate Schmidt. I think it probably came out from the Golden Knights. It was the equivalent of a droplet of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
That was Mr. McCrimmon.
Okay, fair enough.
That was McCrimmon, I think, trying to spin this.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know the players are ultimately responsible for what goes in their body and everything. And you read these stories and you see like how crazy it is and all these items that they can't take. And I'm not a medicine expert by any means, but I know if I look at a medicine bottle and all the things in there's a million things inside of each ingredient, and each ingredient has a million more things inside of it. So who's ever responsible for making sure what goes in these players' bodies as far as medicine, I can't imagine that's a job that's easy in the National Hockey League by any means, or any professional sport.
No one in the world can say that they don't care that people think that they are a cheater. If I'm that last guy it ever happens to, I'm okay with that. Nate Schmidt. So he just said he wanted, and at the time, I'm just reading an ESPN.com story. At the time, he just had said that he wanted to change. He worked with the NHLPA in an effort to change the league's minimum threshold for a PED violation.
No.
It didn't happen.
It's happened twice in 7 years. So the procedure is fine. The unfortunately Smith and Ekblad both made flawed decisions in their time. And before
that, the most recent suspension. So it doesn't happen. It happens very rarely. Doesn't happen all the time. Most recent suspension before that was in 2016. So yeah, it was like a drop, a little. Geez, that's crazy.
I feel like baseball has a lot more of it than
for
hockey.
Sure, but how
and football
often,
just stopped caring.
Football stopped caring, yes, but how frequently do they test for PEDs? Do you believe in the NHL? Because you have to believe, yes, guys are going to trip up, maybe take the wrong medication or whatever.
I mean, the
But for
cat
it
on
to
Toronto
happen,
definitely need to be tested.
so 2016, 2018, and 2025 are the last three. So that's pretty
The
interesting.
procedures fine. Players made mistakes, unfortunately, and whether they were intentional, unintentional, or a combination thereof, it's irrelevant. But this is a black mark. I mean, Aaron Ekblad is now labeled a cheater. I'm not
Well,
saying
Nate Schmidt, I'd never call that guy a cheater, though. He's not a
I'll
cheater.
never call. I mean, but he was labeled as a cheater.
Yeah,
He
but
took something that you're not supposed to, which gives you an advantage. And again,
right.
it was a very small amount and all
The
that, but
media here was like, well, it's only a little drop or whatever.
it's
It's
just what. But
eating bad
it's a
meat.
rule. If the puck crosses the line, it's a goal. If it doesn't, it's not a goal. It doesn't have to go all the way in the back, and that just has to cross the line.
But
The
he
entire
never
puck
did
has to
get it.
cross the
He
line.
never
Yeah.
did change. He said he thought 20 games was too much for PEDs. That's a funny
A
story.
quarter of the
Actually, as it
season
turns out.
for cheating doesn't seem too bad to me.
We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers, especially eaters of bad meat, roller derby players, and all that. Don't forget on Fridays. On Fridays, it's WTF Day. On Saturdays, sometimes it's getting late in the season. The Golic and Golic Chris Jr. show. Don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll recap VGK at the Penguins. Love these early games. What is this, a 4:00 start? Oh, this is great. We'll get to that. We'll recap the game and much, much more on the way tomorrow. For my man, Chris Golic, I am Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas, and we'll see you again tomorrow right here on Lockdown Golden Knights. And please take care.